Hey guys, so I want to talk to you today about Senator Josh Hawley and how the rhetoric that he's using today is going to contribute to violence in the coming months against the trans community. Now, if you've been paying attention, you know that over the last 2 years, there's been a growing rate of violent incidents and threats against the LGBTQ community at large, and especially against the trans community. The right-wing political system has embraced this hatred and has started legislating against trans Americans all across this country. But what Josh Hawley is doing right now, right this moment, his big campaign is to demonize the trans community and connect them and condemn them as responsible for the violence we recently saw, the mass shooting in Nashville, the little kids who were killed in the classroom. Now, Hawley doesn't want to talk about the fact that this individual, should have been prevented from having guns. Their family apparently sought to keep them away from guns, but Tennessee's gun laws are a complete and total mess, and they've been getting worse because of Republican policies making it so that everybody can have access to more and more powerful guns. Hawley doesn't want to discuss that. What he wants to talk about is this idea that the Christian community, the American Christian community, is being targeted, right? He's making up this idea. He's embracing this this fiction, this conspiracy theory that is pushed by neo-Nazis and other far-right extremist organizations that Christians, white Christians in this country, are a persecuted minority. And the reason that Josh Hawley is getting on Fox News and that Tucker Carlson is amplifying this is because, frankly, these people will do anything for power, and getting people scared and angry and committed to being on their side and blind to the facts, well, that leads to things like the rise of Donald Trump. It leads to things like the insurrection. And these people really are social anarchists. They are just trying to burn down the system that we live in so that they can be more and more powerful. And they'll do it at the expense of the vulnerable minority, like the trans community. Now, the fact is that the trans community, especially over the last 2 years, has seen increasing threats, not just to their existence from and their freedom for their way of life, because Republicans have been legislating against things like their medical care and their access to the public, but because extremists have been threatening their lives. They've been firebombing and throwing bricks through the windows of their bars. They've been showing up at their events with weapons meant to terrorize and intimidate them.
How does it feel being a pedophile?
And it's insanely frustrating to see a man like Hawley, the insurrection chicken, who is a smart man, going out and using rhetoric that he knows damn well is going to lead to further violence. The way that Hawley and Tucker Carlson are trying to blame the entire trans community for this recent mass shooting is extremely irresponsible. But the thing about stochastic terrorism is that it's not against the law. These folks going out and convincing their Christo-fascist followers, these Christians who believe that we ought to live in an entirely white and Christian nation, to the exclusion of everybody else, they're creating the space to further radicalize those folks. so that they can, in their own minds, justify violence against a minority community. It's not hyperbolic to compare this kind of shit that Hawley and Carlson are doing right now against the trans community to, what has happened in fascist governments before. I mean, we have seen Jews demonized in the same way. The way that Hawley is saying that the LGBT community is incompatible with Christianity, and the way that Tucker Carlson is pushing that idea out to, one of the largest audiences that there is going to inspire violence. But I don't want to scare folks. I don't want to leave them hopeless. I want to let you know that there are folks like me, veterans as part of Task Force Butler Institute, who are working to undermine extremist organizations before they go out and commit violence. What we do is we gather evidence online of criminal activity, and we submit that evidence to law enforcement, to journalists, and to affected communities, so that those folks doing and planning violence can be held accountable before things get worse. So, stuff's bad, but our country has always been imperfect. We have always had folks who are trying to inspire violence against minorities. But just know that our democracy is not lost. People are fighting, and we are doing everything that we can to make sure that folks are safe, that those vulnerable communities have allies who are working in real ways. So don't ignore this. Pay attention to what Hawley and Fox News are doing right now, and stand with the LGBTQ community. Let your friends from that community know that you are there to support them, and don't just use words. I mean, hell, if they need to stay at your house because they feel unsafe because they're being targeted, offer your place up, right? Let's make this kind of aid to this community real. Everybody can do this, right? So whether it's putting somebody up or whether it's donating to an organization that helps the LGBTQ community, just take action, right? We are not like the far right. We don't need to hit the streets, and we don't need to carry weapons or anything to support our beliefs. We can simply support our friends and our family. That's how we beat them.